Welcome everyone that's here. We're so thrilled you're here. My name is Valerie Kaler. I'm with Willow Bookshop. And Liara, it is so wonderful to have you here tonight with us. Yay.
Hello.
We're so thrilled that you're all here to join us tonight to talk about Liara's new book, which we are absolutely thrilled. All of you should at this point either have a book in your hand or a book on the way. Let's just say that, with some very special swag that goes with it. And we're all thrilled that you're here to talk tonight about all the things we never knew. So Liara and I met, I don't know how many years ago. She came in to the bookstore and she said, I have a book coming out, calling my name and calling his name. And we were absolutely thrilled to be the store to do the debut party for that. Since then, she has gone on to many more writing things, including a wonderful short story in Black Enough, which was really a great read. And then now, just out this Tuesday, All the Things We Never Knew. So we're thrilled to have you here tonight, Liara, and just to talk about your book, and not that we haven't seen you like 9 times in the last 2 weeks, but just to talk about your book and explain to everybody what it's all about and what is it like to have another wonderful book out there in the book world. And we're thrilled you're here. So you're going to take it off mute. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're trying. I know you are. There you are.
There we go. Okay. There we go. Hello, everybody. I can't see everybody's faces, but hello. I'm glad you're here. I see you, Gwen. I see you, Lindsay. So All the Things We Never Knew, it's a love story, and it follows a love story of 2 Houston area high school basketball stars, and their names are Carli and Rex. The book is told in alternating perspectives, so you get both sides of their love, which is messy and complicated, but is also very tender and very sweet. And the book is not just about romantic love, it's also about familial love, it's about the love between friends, and most importantly, it's about self-love. So we go on all of those journeys in this book.
Wonderful.
And I guess I can read a little bit.
Please do.
Yeah. And so really, I mean, I'm going to read towards the middle, but there's not much you need to know. Other than Rex is a nature lover. It allows him to feel really close to his mom who died giving birth to him. And Carli is super curious and also lost, and she kind of looks to signs from the universe as her guide in life. And at this point, they're dating. So I'm going to start with Carli. Rex is leading me across his backyard by the hand. When the lawn ends and the forest begins, he doesn't pause, but it's dark and who knows what's in there. I stop. Where are we going? I ask and fold my arms across my chest like it's cold, even though it's pretty warm. Come on, you'll see. Trust me. I don't move. I feel like I'm the star of a scary movie and the audience is screaming, girl, don't do it. I come back here all the time. You'll love it, he promises. The audience is still screaming, don't listen to him, girl, not unless you want to die. And to their point, what good can come out of walking into a dark forest that night? Rex reaches into his backpack, takes out a big flashlight, and shines it into the woods. See, just trees. He lights the ground and dead leaves and shrubs and fungus. No boogeyman. What about snakes and raccoons and whatever else is in there? We'll be fine, Rex says and shines the light at our feet. In protest, I take a deep breath and let it out slow and loud. But when he grabs my hand, I start walking again. After a few minutes, we reach a clearing with a wooden picnic table. You brought this out here? I ask. Yeah, it used to be in the backyard at my old house, he says, and lights and takes out a long red lighter, like Daddy uses to light the fire pit. He hands me the flashlight and lights 2 tin citronella candles sitting on the benches, one on each side of the table. Then he takes a blanket out of his backpack and arranges it on top of the picnic table. This is actually pretty cool, I say, admiring the setup. You better listen to your boy, Rex says, smiling, and climbs up on the table. I climb up too. And now we're lying on top of the table with our pinky fingers linked, looking up at the crowns of tall pines, reaching for a patch of star-sprinkled sky. So that was Carli. Let me give y'all a little taste of Rex, a little bit. I'm not gonna read as much of Rex, but just a little bit. So this is Rex. This has always been my secret spot. Even at my old house, when there was just a tiny backyard with 2 cedar elm trees, this table, the trees, the stars, the stillness, they've always been there for me. And now Carli is here, and it's like I've introduced her to my best friends and they're vibing, and it's making me feel closer to her than I've ever felt. We'll leave it there, so.
Well, Liara, that's just beautiful, and it's so wonderful to read about young love and all the different things. I would love at this point to raise a toast to you. Liara, back in Portland, do you remember this? It was 3 years ago now. We were at Children's Institute, and Kathy and I, you were a little shy. It was your first one, and we introduced you to somebody, and we want to bring somebody here tonight to help toast the debut of your new book. Kathy?
I let him in. There he is!
Can you see him, Liara?
No, but I have an idea. Let's say it first. I don't see anybody though.
Lisa, unmute our guest, please.
I tried to unmute our guest. He might need to be muted.
Nope, there he is.
We're muted. What's happening?
Jason!
Hey,
Kathy, can you?
What's up?
what's happening, baby?
Hey, this is a surprise.
I know. I've been in the waiting room for like 25 minutes staring at the white screen. You know what I mean? But I wanted to stop in just for a moment to say congratulations. At the end of the day, it's hard to write one, even harder to write two. And I just got a lot of love for you, a lot of respect for you, and I appreciate the work you've done for, look, I think the stories that we tell, especially for our kids, they always seem to involve all sorts of explosions and trauma and all sorts of other things. And I just got a lot of respect for somebody who writes us as we are on an everyday basis. Our lives in and of themselves are more than enough. They're interesting enough without all the extras. And so I'm grateful for you. I'm proud of you. Let me know I told you last time I saw you, let me know if you need some, whatever that might be. I'm with it. You know what I'm saying? I'll do the best I can to make it happen for you. And I'm going to keep following. And thank you for the integrity of language, line for line, word for word. It means the world to me to see somebody taking such care and being so thoughtful with the stories that you and we are doing our best to tell. Even though you went to Duke, nobody's perfect, you feel me? But yeah, nobody's perfect, but you close, you know what I'm saying? And so, link up when all this is over, we'll toast to you. And like I said before, please let me know if you need me in any capacity, and we'll make it happen. So all the people on the live, it's good to see so much love and support for your people. And I'm supporting as well, homie. Proud of you.
Oh.
See you soon. All right.
Thank you so much.
You, Jason. Liara, that is just wonderful. This is a wonderful beginning.
You got me messing up makeup.
I know.
Start. Thank you. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers to everyone.
Cheers to everyone.
Cheers.
Love y'all.
This is wonderful. All right, Liara, it's your game. It's your party. I'm just sitting here in my office, just sitting here. So you take over. I'm just gonna sit here and y'all.
Valerie, you have to hit that thing.
What, Kathy?
You have to allow people to unmute themselves and give them rules, remember?
Thank you. Here we go. I have.
Okay. So really, I want this to be as interactive as possible. I know a lot of you, I would love to see you in person. I miss y'all. I miss, the last book event we had, everybody was there and it was so fun. But really, I want to try to recreate that energy and recreate that vibe. So I know a lot of y'all have questions too. So just, when you have a question, let us know. We will put the screen on you, and so we can get the conversation flowing. So let's go. Who got a question? Who got the first? Who gonna be first? Who's stepping up to the mic first?
You are allowed to unmute yourself. I have allowed you that opportunity.
So just unmute yourself. Like whenever you're ready, just unmute yourself, and then you can pop on, ask the question, and I'll answer. And then when we're done, unmute yourself, and the next person, when they're ready, unmute yourself. And so hop on in.
I'll do it for it.
Okay.
Amika, I just unmuted you.
Yeah, yes, I'm Liara's brother. I'm very proud of him.
Of course you're her brother.
Absolutely. Okay, so the first question is, what inspired you to write the book? I know we both love the movie Love and Basketball. That's one of my favorites. So what inspired you to write the book?
To write the book. Yes, I do love the movie Love and Basketball, and it almost, I played basketball. We grew up. Look, you played basketball. Daddy played basketball. Our whole family played basketball. We come from a family of basketball, and I tend to, at least with my first two books, I write it. It's close to my experience. It's like I have not lived everything in all the things we never do. This is not what happened to me. Calling my name, all of Taj's experience, that is not what happened to me. But I like to write from my life and write from what I know. So basketball was very familiar to me. So
absolutely.
There you
Sounds
go.
Hey.
Hey. Hey, KJ. Hey, Kayla. Hey, y'all. Hey, all of y'all. These are all my nieces and nephews and my sister, everybody.
Yes, all of them don't belong to me.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not all my sister's children. Yeah.
A lot.
My three over there.
Yes. And so the kiddos had a few questions that they wanted to ask you. I think, Kyrie, how long did it take you to write the book?
Oh, that's a good question, Kyrie. With this book, it took about 9 months to a year, I would say, to write it.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Every day, just a little bit. And that's the thing when people think about writing a book, they think, oh, it takes so much time, or I can never do it. It's just a few hours every day. So it's like a few hours of sitting at the computer and typing away every day. And they add up. They add up really rather quickly. So, if you invest the time and want to sit down and, you have something to say, you can write a book if you want to write a book. Carrie, I know you like writing. You can write a book. Most definitely.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
KJ, you got anything?
Not really.
They are being so shy right now. It is crazy.
Okay, anybody else? Kia?
How did you come up with the characters?
How did I come up with the characters? That's a good question too. And typically, I spend a lot of time just trying to figure out who my characters are. And I don't know them at first. It's just kind of like people. When you meet a person, you don't know them. It's like, okay. It's like you really have to spend time with them to get to know them. And I spend time with them in notebooks before I go to the computer. It's like I take a lot of notes and I'm like, okay, what is she like? With Carli, I knew I wanted her to be very curious in life because I think curiosity can really lead to some beautiful and unexpected things. I think it's a big part of happiness. And so I started off knowing that I wanted her to be very curious, but I didn't exactly know what she would be curious about, And so that kind of had to come up in the process. With Rex, I knew that I wanted him to be a nature lover, because they both play basketball, but obviously people aren't one thing. It's not like, oh, you play basketball, that's it. They have layers to them. And with Rex, I knew I wanted him to be a nature lover because his mom did die giving birth to him. And he doesn't have a good relationship with his father. Nature is it's a huge ally for him. Nature is a friend to him. And, really, I wanted all kids to know that nature is there all the time. You know, you can always look to the sky. You can always pay attention to the birds. Paying attention to the birds, the sound of the birds is just a beautiful thing. You can always, you know, pay attention to the trees. And it sounds like very simple things, but it's like, it really is, it can be transcendent. And it's like something I wanted to bring attention to. But everything else, it kind of unfolds as I write. You know, the characters develop layer by layer by layer. I don't know them at first. I don't really know exactly everything that's going to happen, but they kind of teach me who they are really over time. Thank you for y'all's questions.
Liara.
Hi.
Hi there. Hey, everybody.
Everybody. All right.
I was just listening to you talk about how you you go about your writing. I'm interested to know, like, if you get up every day and you write something for like 2 hours at a time, and then the next day you get up and you write something else, you go back over those notes and you say, well, it was a good thought, but it doesn't go here. I'm going to have to move it to this spot. Do you do that kind of analysis when you do your writing?
Yeah, you know, I'm like a lot of writers just write a big first draft and they get it all out there. I'm one of those writers that I write as I go, so I heavily edit as I go. So every day when I come to the computer screen, I edit and revise what I've written the day before. And sometimes that means cutting stuff, you know, sometimes it means shifting it to another place. Sometimes it means just developing the language there and the rhythm there. I'm a big fan of rhythm. So I always like things to sound just right, you know. But every day it's not only what I write that day, it's going back and seeing what I wrote the day before and seeing how it all flows together.
Yeah, that's the one and only thing that I learned in my writing class is that, you know, it doesn't all come at the same time. It's different, you know, different days you feel this way and then you might write that way, and the next day you feel another way and you write like that. So,
yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And you're not writing, it's like some days you sit at the computer and it's not a lot of writing at all, you know. Some days it's kind of like you have to think about, hey, what's going on here? You know, what's at the heart of this story? What am I missing? Some days it's not a flow. And some days it's flowing like, oh yeah, this feels good, because when you are in the flow, it's like the best feeling in the world, you know.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations, really.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, everybody.
All right. Have you ever felt like what you're writing can sometimes intimidate you and cause you to, oh wow, maybe I'm getting too deep into thought on this, and maybe let me back up for a second.
That's a good question. Yeah, you do rub up against deep emotions, I would say, while you're writing, because, you know, everything in these characters is somewhere in me. And some of those things are surface, but a lot of those things are really unconscious, and they come up and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was there.
Right.
You know, and then you have to confront it and you have to deal with it. But for me, it's like I really embrace those moments because I feel like writing is a form of therapy. It's a way for feelings and emotions to get up out of me and on the page, you know. And a lot of times it's like in those moments too, you know, somebody else has felt like that.
Okay.
You know, so it's like, even though it's a specific experience happening to this character, I felt it. It may be a different experience, but I felt the emotion around that feeling. And so I know it's a human emotion. And so I know somebody else reading it can feel that emotion as well.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, congratulations again.
Definitely, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. We're definitely proud of you.
Thank you, y'all. Thank you.
Hey, Liara, this is Jennifer.
Jennifer!
She just. So I just received my first. But I started reading it, and I wanted to know, like, your teenage voice is very authentically a teenage voice. And I just want to know, how in the world do you go way back and mimic what we all sounded like when we were 16? It's amazing.
Girl, because I still sound like that. That's why. Rex's voice is like, is a closer approximation, you know, to me, you know, so it was kind of easy writing Rex. I flowed with Rex's voice a lot. Okay, mommy and daddy are up in the mix. They're on the screen. And I see Amina too up next. Amina, you got a question? Hey, this is my daughter, y'all. Hey,
Mommy. Hey, I have a question, Mommy.
Yes.
Did you come up with the title before you wrote the book or like after you wrote the book?
That is a good question, Amina. I always tend to come up with the title towards the beginning. Not always, this is only my second book, and actually my first book, it was at the end. So I don't even know why I said that. With this book, it was at the beginning, and it did serve to shape how I wrote the rest of the book, because the title, All the Things We Never Knew, I knew I wanted to reveal secrets with that. You know, both characters have secrets, and there's secrets that need to be revealed. But also with Carli's curiosity, she's very curious about the world. You know how we always say, be curious. She's very curious about the world. And so she is like giving you little facts and random tidbits of knowledge throughout the book too. And so all of those things are kind of like all the things we never knew, which I ended up loving the title. But yeah, so I came up with it toward the beginning, Mumuz.
Cool.
Okay, mommy and daddy, did y'all have something?
You gotta tag on to what Jennifer said about your characters and them being teenagers, because I think you hit it on the head with Carli, especially with her anger and how being at that age, you're not able to really express your anger in the correct form. So you kind of like lash out. And I thought that was powerful with her, you know, being a teenager and everything that was going on in her life and just how she reacted to everything when, you know what I mean? She held it all in for so long. So
yeah.
I thought that was.
Yeah, and even as adults, you know, it's like when we don't have the communication skills to express ourselves, or maybe we feel insecure, and so we don't want to be vulnerable enough to express ourselves. And when we feel so many things that we're keeping inside for whatever reason, you end up acting out, you know? And so that was definitely, and when you're a teenager, of course, you haven't developed these life skills. And so she ends up just acting up, you know, instead of really expressing how she feels. So yeah, thank you, Mika.
Okay, are we there now?
Yes, hey, Mom.
Hi. Okay, we old folks. It takes us a while to get kind of used to stuff. Well, you've answered already a lot of the questions that I was going to ask. So I'll ask something different. I really like your book covers from the first one and this one. It's like before you even open the book, the covers speak to you. So where did you come up with the inspiration? And is that you designing, telling what the designer to put on there, or?
Well, yeah, first of all, the cover is by Love is Wise. She's a brilliant illustrator, and I love her, and I feel like, you know, her art really embodies, you know, her name in a sense. Love is wise.
Yes,
you can feel the love in all her artwork. Okay. And so my publisher, in this case, with my first book, they said, here's your cover. And I had no input, and it was absolutely amazing. Vashti Harrison did Calling My Name, and it's a beautiful cover. I cried when I saw both of my covers. But with this book, my publisher was like, so who do you want as your illustrator for your cover? And I got to give them some names. And so Love is Wise was available, and it was a very collaborative, you know, process. She was very open to input, you know, which, you know, I admire that, and I appreciate that, because not everybody is. Some people are like, let me do my thing, you know, you'll see it when I finish. But she was like, you know, what do you want? So we talked about the celestial elements, and we talked about, different things, you know, and she would give me something and say, hey, what do you think? So it was a back and forth, but at the end of the day, she's the artist, you know, and it's a beautiful cover, and all her colors, the color is what gets that cover. And that is, you know, she is known for her use of color, and I feel like it's amazing. So.
Okay, well good. Because, I mean, definitely when I look at it, I said, ooh, I see Liara in this. And especially the first one, calling my name with the girl on the cover. So, yeah. So congrats. We're going to get started in reading the book. We just got them yesterday.
Okay, thank y'all.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, you were indicating that you edit daily. When you go into write, you edit some things, and so there's some modifications that you're making to the writing. Do you ever go back and recognize that something that you carved out of book A would have been a great theme for the next book? Do the books teach you or influence you in relationship to the next project that you may be working on?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say from one book to another, but you know, you're constantly writing, and you could definitely pull out, you know, I could have written a short story a couple years ago, and I may be like, you know, this is what this scene is right here. I'm trying to say the same thing I wrote in this other piece that never got published. Let me check on that piece. Let me see what I had to say right there, you know, and I can go and incorporate elements from that piece into this piece. It's like, you know, there's so much, as writers, only a little bit of our writing that we write actually gets published. You know, it's like we have been writing for years and years, or you're constantly writing, and a lot of that stuff, you know, doesn't see the market. So, you know, you're sitting on some gems sometimes, you know, and even in books where, you know, you may have written a beautiful paragraph or have a beautiful scene, and it ends up just being, you know, maybe you don't need that scene. Maybe it doesn't serve the storyline at the end of the day. And so that's what writers call, you have to cut your babies, you know, because it's such a beautiful scene or such a beautiful writing, and you don't want to cut it. But at the end of the day, it serves the story better to cut it. That goes away, you know, in a file somewhere that one day you might be able to put into a different book. So totally.
Oh yeah. All right. Again, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, Lara. Congrats.
Thanks. I can't see you. Wait.
It's Ada.
Oh, hi, Ada.
Elizabeth's friend. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so like I told you before, I think you're an incredible writer. Your descriptions are just unbelievably vivid. So I've ordered the new one. I haven't gone to get it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. So I have a question about, like, you know, when you're writing a character and at some point, maybe you get to, like, when you feel like you're not doing this character justice, like you have a feeling in your head about what this person is like, what this person is thinking, but when other people read it, they're not quite connecting. They're not quite seeing that character the way you intended. Have you had that happen, and how do you go about really doing a good job of portraying what you think about that character and having other people see him or her that way?
Yeah, I think that how you write a character and how each reader receives the character is not always the same, right? Because we all come to the page and we come to reading with our own experiences. And so there's a layer of our own experiences that we put over the character while we're reading them, you know? So I don't even know if it's like our responsibility as writers to make a character seem a certain way, as long as you know you have them on the page in a complete way. You know, if they're human to you and they're authentic to you and their voice is there, the voice is like one of the most important things, I think, because, you know, voice is how it's immediately received by the reader. And if the voice is kind of off or doesn't feel authentic, people can't get into it, you know. But if the voice is there and you feel like you've told their story and their story is there and it's full, and there's detail and there's background, and, you know, how somebody else receives them is, it, you know, once you put it out into the world, it's for other people to have their different experiences with. Like, every reader isn't even going to receive it the same. You know, that's why some people are like, oh, this is the best book ever. And some people are like, hated it. You know, it's like, you know, you know, people are going to have different experiences.
Makes sense. You're right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Congrats again.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. Oops, Erica, you were going, you can go. Hi, Erica. Go ahead.
Okay, Red Lip. Okay.
Ela.
Hey, Liara. Hi. Congratulations. I know. In hiding. So, as multi-passionate Geminis, you know, we have gone through many explorations of self and passions. Can you talk a little bit about your journey to discovering your passion as a writer, and, you know, the process of elimination and how you found your passion as a writer, and also about the creative process, you know, any quotes or things that you do to just sort of get through those blocks of creativity?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, yeah, I am a Gemini, and my attention, I also just like, I am curious about a lot of things. I am passionate about a lot of things. My attention can go a lot of different places, but it's hard to make real strides in one area when your time is split, especially when your time is limited. You know, now we got kids and things, you know. But with my background, you know, I was in law school, then I quit law school, then I was in art school, then I worked as an interior designer for a while. And then after interior designing, I started writing a little bit, but, you know, I was teaching yoga, I was flower designing, I was teaching dance. I had a path. I worked for the NBA in the Houston Rockets and Comets in their marketing department. I did a lot of different things. And until I found writing. And one thing is, when I did find writing and I did start to write, I developed a certain piece around it. And it was almost in the opposite too. If I'm not writing, I don't feel good. If I'm not writing, I'm not happy, you know, and I have to do it. It's it's almost like I don't have an option to be a writer, because it's like, okay, you know, if I'm not doing it, I don't feel good. And so I know this is what I have to do, and I have to carve out enough space in my life in order to do it. And, you know, my creative process, when I get blocked, you know, a lot of times, sometimes it's like, get up and take a walk, you know, it's just that simple to get your mind off of it. Sometimes you can be like, trying and forcing it. And when you're forcing it, it's not flowing. And, you know, maybe you haven't realized something about the character, or realized, you know, a truth about what's going on in this scene and the heart of the story. And, you know, sometimes you have to allow that to come to you, and you can't force it. So I like to give it a little space, a little breathing room, and just step away from it for a little bit and then come back to it.
Thank you. I got mine yesterday, so we are all in to read it this weekend reading. So congrats, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Well, it's Tiffany. Erica basically took my question, because I was going to ask about what you thought you wanted to be when you were Rex and Carli's age. And then, you know, anyway, she kind of answered it. So I'll ask another question. How do you know when the book is done? Like, how do you know when you've told their story and there's nothing left to tell? How do you wrap it up?
Well, that's a good question, because you feel like you can just revise and revise and revise. Even though I revise when I go along, obviously when the whole thing is done, you're looking at it as a whole piece, and you're still adding and you're revising and you're switching things around. But I would say, and this is somebody else told me this trick a long time ago, and I've learned how to recognize it and say, okay, the end, stop it. when you start revising things and then changing them back to the way you have them. You're like, oh no, I gotta change this. And then you read it again like, oh no, wait, no, I put it back. You know, when you start revising things and changing it back, it's time. It's like you done all that you can do. When you feel like, no, this is all I could do, you know, or sometimes it's like, okay, time's up, time to move on. That too. But yeah, I think that's about it. What else y'all got?
Okay, hi, Liara.
Hey, Care.
I'm so proud of you, girl. You go. So one of the things that I really enjoyed, first of all, reading the book, you hear your voice. And so as you were reading, giving us that small little read aloud, and here's my family, they're proud too.
Hey.
Have you ever thought about doing like an audio version of you reading the story? Because it really gives, I mean, as you were reading that, I'm smiling, I'm laughing because I'm like, it sounds like you speaking, and your words in this book as you're reading it, it sounds like you speaking. So have you ever thought about doing an audio version of your or read aloud of your book completely?
Yeah, like there's some authors who do. I know Elizabeth Acevedo has done, but she is a poet, and you know, she was a spoken word poet before she was an author. I wouldn't say like I'm that talented enough. I know you love the way I sound, and you know me, and you look, oh, that sound like you, girl. But I feel like people can do a better job than me. You know, the actors and the actresses that are like paid to do it, and I feel like they do an exceptional job. I feel like both of my audiobooks are like really good, and I'm really happy with the way they turned out. And I don't think I could have done that. I don't think I could have done it as well, because you know, I'm not. You know. You say what?
You can do it, girl.
You can do it, girl. Maybe, one day,
We can do it.
Maybe, you know, with more practice, especially with, I would say, you know, with going into the public eye, you know, one of the biggest things I've had to like level up on, I would say level up, is public speaking. You know, when I'm in a comfortable setting and like this, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Actually, I found being at home and doing Zooms, I feel a lot more comfortable than I typically am. But let me get in public. You know, I get in public, or, you know, it's like a nervous situation and I'm not flowing, and I'm saying every 2 seconds. And I probably said a little bit that tonight, and I'm, you know, I feel like that is an area I need to grow in as a writer. I'm getting better and better, but still it's an area I need to grow in. So, you know, catch me in about 5 years, and maybe I'm like, okay, yes, I'm good enough, and I'm about to do my book. You know, let me ask to, you know, narrate my book. But right now, I would say nah.
Wow, I think you got it, girl.
Question. This is Jennifer again.
Hey, Jen.
So do you ever ask your friends for their stories to help inspire?
Oh, that's interesting.
Essays?
Let me tell you, I don't ask anybody, but I sure do steal. You know.
You shouldn't have asked that question, Jennifer. Now your story will be in the next book.
I would like to remain anonymous.
She knows way too many stories for you to have put that idea in her head.
It's like you kind of write from your life, right? And so even if it's not, I'm never going to put somebody out there. And even, you know, I remember there was one story in Calling My Name where I talked to a person because it was very true to life. And I feel like if it was something very true to life, I would have a conversation to be like, hey, are you comfortable with this? I want you to read this and see if you're okay with this. You know, and I feel like I did that. But no, because you're writing from your life. So, you know, you don't live all these experiences, but you are a witness to a lot of different experiences. You are a witness to, you know, your family and your friends and, you know, all of their things. And so, you know, you gather a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit, you know, and, you know, you put in what is relevant to the story. So, you know, a lot of y'all probably up in here somewhere, you know, I don't know.
Was there Boone's Farm in the book? Was there
Boone's Farm.
Just to, hey, Liara, it's Lindsay. Just to piggyback on that, you know, Rex was born on my birthday, August 2nd. So I'm just thinking, Maybe you didn't know that, right? Because that was the right. No.
Yes. No.
See?
There's another birthday in there too. With Carl. Anyways, go ahead. There are dates and things that are intentional, but go ahead.
So that I thought, yes, his Leo spirit and the fight in him must have been inspired by your other August 2nd Leo friend. That's what I was thinking,
Okay.
Jennifer.
Okay.
Congratulations, it's Cree.
Hey, Cree.
So I'm wondering, when you write your books, is there anything that you want the takeaway to be that's consistent from book to book? Is there a message? Is there a purpose that you think everybody would see throughout?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Cassandra. Thank you. And I would say, yes, the consistent theme between this book and the last book is just to listen to yourself and to value your own inner wisdom and to value your own intuition, I would say. I do feel like that's very important in life. You know, there's a lot of external feedback, you know, from a lot of different places, especially now everybody's on social media. You're constantly having an intake of what everybody else thinks and everybody else's opinions. But it's very important, I think, especially, you know, because these two books are for teenagers, it's very important to find your own center and live from that instead of trying to live, you know, people pleasing or going along with what everybody else is doing. So, yeah.
Hey, Lee.
What's up?
So proud of you. This is like such an exciting moment. I was just going to piggyback off of that, and I think that you're the perfect person to represent that message in the world because you live that, and just your presentation in life exudes that. So I think it's an exciting thing for you to go out to kids and to talk to them and share that message because it is authentic and to see you embody to life. So I think it's beautiful. I do have a question too. How do you manage to fit it all in? Like, how do you manage to sit down and think and write with being a mom and a businesswoman and, you know, someone who likes to kick it and have fun and you know, all of that? Like, how do you manage to balance it all?
Yeah, no, thank you for that question too. I really have to dedicate an amount of my time every day. And so, and it's hard sometimes managing it. And sometimes that means, you know, if y'all have a good group chat going on, I'm not a part of it. You know what I'm saying? I know all my friends on here be like, where Liara at sometimes, where's she at? You know, I'm not going back and forth on the group chat, you know, or if it means like, you know, some friends are like, hey, you know, want to kick it and have some lunch? I probably am going to be not, you know, really like every day, well, when my daughter's in school, typically every day when she's at school, I carve out that time to work. And, you know, it's a really sacred time for me. And I try to protect it because if I don't, I won't have it and I won't be able to be productive and I won't be able to write books. But it is a challenge, you know, with the business, not even the business outside of this, but I do have a business outside of this, but even with the business of writing and, you know, trying to keep a level head and stay balanced. You know, you introduced me to a good meditation technique this year that I feel like has really helped me stay grounded and focused and just trying to be present, you know, just throughout the day at small moments, just to stay inside of my body and not be so in my head all day. And just little things, like little practices all day, whether it's, you know, meditation or trying to stay present, it's blocking out those hours. And so if I block out those hours, you know, and a lot of times I wake up on weekends and try to write before my daughter gets up on the weekends. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, time to kick it, you know, time to kick it and trying to leave all that to the side. Now it's time to kick it. Or now it's time to be with my daughter, be present with her without worrying about this. Or now it's time to be with my man and be chilling with him and not worrying about this. But I do like to have a balanced life. You know, and I could probably produce a lot more books I could be writing, because a lot of people put out a book every year, just like, or 2 books a year. And I could be doing that, but I choose not to, so that I can stay balanced. I want to stay balanced in my life. I want to be able to enjoy my family and enjoy my work and be able to enjoy my friends. I don't want one thing to take over everything else. So, yeah. I think. Is that it? Yeah, okay.
So I have a question, Liara.
Hey, Shan.
Hey, Lily. So what attracted you to the young adult genre of writing? What do you think attracted you most to that?
Yeah,
that
it's not
audience?
even, it's honestly, it's like, it kind of found me. But I am glad that I am here now. But when I wrote Calling My Name, it could have sold as young adult or it could have sold as adult, because it is more literary. And my agent was just like, we'll try young adult first, you know, for whatever reason. Maybe she had her business reasons for it. And she sold it as young adult, and then the editor bought a second book along with it. So it was a 2-book deal. So I knew writing my second book that it was for young adults, which definitely, you know, knowing exactly who you're writing to, it makes a difference in the style and the approach to the book. So it's definitely a little bit more squarely in YA. I think, you know, with Calling My Name, you know, anybody can read anything anyway. It's like labels, right? Plenty of adults read YA, you know, and the other way around. But this one is more squarely YA. But now that I'm in YA, you know, it's a beautiful thing speaking to children. You know, it's a beautiful thing because really children are our future. And you know, I have a daughter now, and really I wish all, you know, for all children what I want for my daughter. I want the same thing for all children that I want for my daughter. And so it is really a gift to be able to speak to them. You know, it's a gift to be able to connect to their hearts and to their minds, you know, and see what you know, look at what's in the market and see, hey, this is missing. I want to give them this, you know. There's been a lot of talk about how in our industry now, with all the conversations about race, how a lot of books with Black characters are centered around race, and they're centered around race problems. And those books get, you know, sold the most, you know, those authors, you know, and it kind of creates a situation where Black authors are almost encouraged to write about racism and write about oppression and write about, because, you know, those books get sold the most, and you know, it's easy to sell and people are going to support it, you know, whether it's down the librarians to the people at your publishing house, people are going to support those books. But it is equally important with everything going on for not only our Black children, but for other children, for them to see the full humanity of Black people, for them to just see Black people doing normal everyday things, right? It's like, you know, any white child can pick up a book and see themselves doing normal everyday things. They're not confronted with privilege when they read a book. They need to start, you know, white writers need to take up more of this cause, so that when children read, when we're reading white books, we're talking about race too, talking about privilege, you know, talking about the history of, you know, white supremacy in this country. But I wanted to write books that, you know, kids can pick up, they can see themselves falling in love, they can see them. It's a need out there that I see and that I wanted to fulfill. And so I'm very happy to be in that space and to be contributing to that space. And I want to keep writing from that space. I want to just write books where you can pick up a book and say, okay, that's a familiar hairstyle, that's a familiar joke, and you know, this could be your cousin, this could be your auntie, this can be your mama, this can be your little brother, and it feels comfortable and it feels like home, You know, I want kids to pick up my books and feel like home. And if, you know, if you're not Black, I want you to be able to get a real sense of how we are, not in terms of racism, oppression, all that, but just get a real sense of how we are on an everyday basis. So, and I think that's an important to, and that's important to be out there in the world, and we need more of it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? What time is it? How much time we got left?
I'm gonna ask another question. Oh, okay. We'll let the babe go first. Go ahead.
Liara, she is adorable. She's giving you the heart sign. She needs to speak.
Okay, what's up, Moo-Moos?
I have another question.
Okay, what's your question, Honest?
Wait, what was it? Do you think that it was do you think you picked your characters a good name?
Oh, yes, I love their names. Yes, it's always, you have to, when you're writing a book and you know you're going to be writing this character and you're going to be calling the character a certain thing over and over again, you want to love their names. So I always spend a little bit of time trying to find the right name that I can call them and that I would love, for sure. But yes, I love Carli and Rex. I love saying Carli and Rex, Carli and Rex. I love their names. Thank you, Moo-Moos. Lauren!
Hi.
Hey, Lauren.
I've been here just with my video off. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. And these questions are all great. Obviously, Amina's are the best. Good job, Amina. I have a question, and it's about the structure and how you decided to kind of inhabit two voices and two stories as opposed to just focusing on one. That's a question I have for you.
Thank you. It's a good question. Yeah, because it's a love story, I wanted to, it's a love story that goes back and forth, and it's a love story in which there are a lot of secrets kept and a lot of drama goes down because of those secrets. And so I wanted the reader to know more of the full story of what was going on with each character, you know, because the characters don't know all of what's going on with the other, but I wanted the readers to kind of understand each character as they were going along so that they would better understand their journey and the drama of their journey, the love of their journey, the feelings on both sides. You know, it is really messy and it is really complicated, but I wanted the reader to have the full picture of both characters. And that's why I alternated. And it was fun. It's fun. I liked it. I want to write, I'm not going to obviously write another one right away with dual POV, but I feel like I want to return to that structure. It was good.
Thank you so much and congrats again.
Thanks, Lauren.
So Liara, what do you feel like you learned from the first to the second book, and what will you take from those learnings into your next book, or what's next?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like every book you come to is like, I don't know how to write a book. I feel like you start there every single time. It's like, because every book is different and every project is different. And every time it's like you have to put it together piece by piece. You know, the beginning is always the hardest. So maybe what I'm taking from every book I write is, I can do this. I know I can do this, you know? It's like, even though you feel like it's maybe impossible in the beginning and you're like, oh, you know, by going through it twice, it's like, hey, I've written 2 books. You can do this, girl. Come on, let's go, you know? So if anything, that's what I'm taking from it. Liz.
Yeah, no, so I was about to ask a similar question, and congratulations again. I think I asked you this before, but like, what is your process? Like, is it the same every time? Is it different? I mean, and I'm not just talking about for a book. I'm curious, like, for the article you did for Time, or for anything you write. I mean, is this something you learn when you get an MFA, or is it like, does it differ for every author and for you for every type of story you write?
Yeah, it totally differs for every project. Like every single project, everything you write is like a completely different process. with, Calling My Name, they're written in vignettes and short stories, and that can all stand on their own. And they were written completely out of order. And each one I spent a lot of time on in terms of language, developing the rhythm, and making sure that it was a whole thing in and of itself. And so it was more laborious, I would say, Calling My Name. With all the things we never knew, it was able to flow a little bit more, and I wrote it chronologically. Even though it has the starts and stops with each character because it alternates, it's still on the same topic. It's the same, it flows a little easier, and it flows a little bit more. And then with the article, the Time article, I think I wrote that thing 4 different times before, I struggled with that one. But with everything, some things just flow. I mean, it could depend on kind of where you are mentally. It can depend on, like I said, figuring out the heart of it. Once you know the heart of it and you kind of like get grounded in like, ooh, what is this about? I feel like it flows so much easier. But with every project, it's a different process for me. I mean, one thing that is true for everything is that I do write in notebooks. I feel like starting out in notebooks just gives you a little bit more freedom. I'm harsh on myself when I get to the computer. There's a lot of deleting, like, oh, that's not good enough, delete. And sometimes you just need to allow yourself the freedom of getting it out and getting it on the page, and that comes more easily with me with notebooks. Because even if you cross it out, it's still there. It's not completely deleted. So notebooks are a little friendlier. So I start off with notebooks because they're a little more friendly. I'm a little bit nicer to myself in notebooks than the computer.
Liara, I just think these are wonderful questions. I've loved seeing I just am in awe of all of your fans and your family and your friends and everyone who is watching, including those of you behind. And Tyson, I see you're eating something over there. Yeah, I see you. It's so wonderful that we had this evening, this hour to share with you and to welcome your book into the world. And it means the world to Blue Willow Bookshop and all of you for joining us tonight. We thank all of you so much for your support of the bookstore and support of Liara, and many more books to come. I am confident that we have many more books to come. So thank you all very much. Liara, if you just stay for just 1 minute, and we thank you all for coming tonight. Go out on your Friday night and do something safe, safe distancing, do all your safe stuff. And soon enough, we will be together in the store as friends. So thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank y'all. Love y'all. Thank
you.
Congratulations.
Love you.
Congratulations.
Oh, wait, I gotta take a picture.
Take a picture.
Yeah, got y'all. Okay, love y'all.
Love you. Congrats.
Thank you.